Hello and welcome to your week 3. Hopefully, you are well on track by now and rocking your program. Please remember if you have questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me through email at lisa@lisaolona.com and ask any questions that you have. I want to make sure that I'm helping you through this process. And equally, your questions will actually help me know how to better cover the material for future use. So questions are definitely welcome. So, like I said, we're at week 3. Week 1, we talked about what happens when you come up against resistance and understanding that unease that you start to feel, and being able to acknowledge and recognize that that's what you're experiencing so that you can call it out for what it is and then continue to move forward through those days when you don't feel like it. So that's what we talked about in week 1. Week 2, last week we talked about your why and really making sure that you know your why, that you name your why, you know exactly what it is. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to see those results? How is it going to make your life better? What's the ripple effect? All those things. So just making sure you understand your why, because it's that why that's going to push you through those times when you do hit that resistance. And that's where we are with week 3. So typically what I've seen, 23 years of doing this, is it's typically around week 3 that I see some people start to really run into that roadblock or run into that resistance. So this is when you can start being aware where some of that excitement of starting a new program has worn off a little bit, and now it's time to get your hands dirty, get in there and do the work. And that's where some resistance will start to pop up. That's where your old self, that person that those habits that you're trying to change, those old habits are trying to pull you back away from those new habits. So there's a little bit of a pull that usually starts about now. Sometimes it's later for some people, but usually it starts about now. So just be aware of that and really make sure you know what that why is. If you haven't sat down and worked on your why yet, I really want to encourage you to do that as soon as possible, because you'll want to know that. And I encourage you to write it down, name it, and see it all the time about why you're going to continue to stay the course when life gets busy, when your mind starts playing tricks on you, when those old habits start calling you back. Just making sure that you're staying your course and pushing through that resistance, because it's tough at first, no doubt, but the more you push through, the stronger you're going to get. So this week I'm talking about securing your environment. So there's 3 different topics I'm going to touch on under the umbrella of securing your environment, but this is just making sure it is, just kind of what it says, just making sure that you're setting yourself up for success in regards to the things you allow around you, the people that you allow around you, the people that you allow to speak into your life, so to speak. And just the kinds of things you're watching on TV, stuff like that. So that's what I'm talking about with secure your environment. So we could even take it to, before you started your program, our pregame week, when I had you guys clearing out your cabinets, your refrigerators, getting rid of any junk that would set you back or wouldn't be on your foods list. That's part of securing your environment as well, and making sure that those temptations are gone. If they're in your house, it's so easy to get up and grab that when you're having a moment. So, just making sure that that part of you is ready, and even as far as securing your environment, if you're working out at home, you're working out at the gym. I had you make sure that you had an area, a space that was designated, even if you don't have equipment at home, but you have that area that's designated for you and your workouts, where you can kind of get lost in your workouts for that 30 minutes or so that you're going to do your strength training. If you chose to go to the gym, it's making sure that you're familiar with the gym, you're familiar with the equipment. If you're not, and a lot of this stuff is new to you, all I can say is just keep going, keep, learning as you go. It gets so much easier. I know a lot of people get a little bit intimidated by the gym, but just remember that most people in there think all eyes are on them. They're not really watching you and what you're doing. So it starts to get easier. It starts to get more comfortable if you're not familiar with the gym, but that's a step that you've been working on, is getting to the gym. So there's that with securing your environment. But the other topics that I wanted to touch on is first is knowing your players. And I use this because it was kind of like it's a coaching thing for me from back when I coached uh, volleyball. I coached high school and college volleyball. And one of the important things as a coach is to know your players. You got to know who is your go tos, who's going to be in the game at your key times, and who is going to be maybe spend some time on the bench, but maybe get some time in the game, and then who's just not on the team at all. And the same thing applies to you on this journey. Who are you going to allow to be kind of your go to people, your people that are going to encourage you, that are going to high five you, keep you going, or maybe talk straight to you when you don't feel like going and they're going to, give you a little kick in the butt. Who are those people? Know those players, know who they are. Those will be your go tos that keep you going. And then there will be some players that, you're going to allow in your life or on your team, but they may not be the go-to people for you. But they're still, people that are valuable in your life. And then you have people that just don't deserve to be on your team, haven't earned a spot on your team. And it's not always easy, especially if it comes to family, but it's not always easy. But just making sure you're protecting yourself in that, and that you're surrounding yourself with the people that are going to help you, inspire you, and keep you moving to that next level and keep you moving toward your goals. So that's the number one, is knowing your players. Number two, I have what you allow in your heart. So making sure that, when it comes to mostly what people say, people's opinions, people's thoughts, what you're allowing to sit in your heart. A lot of times when we start a journey, and especially when we're starting a journey that includes creating change, the people that we're closest to seem to buck our system the most. They seem to have a hard time with it. Not always, but sometimes there are those people that kind of like, and it may not be direct, it may not be real obvious, like they're mad at you for starting a journey or something like that, but it could be, they're still trying to entice you into some of those old habits that you guys used to do together. Maybe it's, I don't know, drinking every night or staying up late and watching movies or whatever it is, where you're trying to create a new structure for yourself. But they keep, enticing you a little bit, like, come on, this is what we do, this is how we bond or whatever. So just making sure that you're understanding that what they're saying, what they're doing, whether they're for you or kind of like bucking your system, that you're not allowing it to sit in your heart, and that you're really, staying strong and upholding boundaries for yourself. And that the biggest thing you can do in this situation is to make sure you're communicating with these people that this is something, my life's going to change a little bit. There's going to be some habits that I'm going to be changing. I would love for you to join me on this journey. These are especially like for spouses, things like that. I would love for you to join me on this journey, but this is something I have to do for myself. It's super important to me. You're super important to me. Make sure you reassure them. You are super important to me, and your support would mean the world. And usually, if you have that conversation beforehand, then they understand. And there might be a couple times where they try to do a, come on, we just, whatever. But those are times when you can kind of refer back to the conversation you had. Like, this is really important to me to stay this course and stay focused and get these results that I'm shooting for. So, and then also just as far as people's opinions, everybody has opinions. Everyone's got them. What did they say? They're like armpits. Everyone's got them and they stink. So, um, everyone's got an opinion. So just make sure you're aware of that when people are expressing their opinion, maybe about the approach you're taking, the food you're eating, the workouts you're doing, whatever their opinion may be, just know that's all it is. And you don't have to let it, sink into your heart and start to make you kind of question the path that you're on or anything like that. So this roadmap that you're doing, this path that you're on to creating this transformation is absolutely 100%. It works, no doubt about it. Whether you're choosing the meal plans, whether you're choosing the templates, whether you're working out at home or at the gym, whatever the case may be, if you follow the plan, you will get results. And I'm 100% sure of that. So stay strong in that, and, keep your environment secure, keep those opinions out, especially the ones that work against you. And then that ties into also just knowing your players and knowing who are your go-to people and who's going to pull you through on those days when maybe you don't feel like it. So maybe when your why isn't working and you need like a little bit of an extra push or something, having those people in your corner is a huge plus. And then the final one is just daily information. And this is super important, especially in this world that we live in today. It seems to be becoming more and more unstable in a lot of ways. So it's really important that, if you are somebody who spends a lot of time watching the news or reading the, newspaper or reading things online, reading, if there's things on Facebook, if you're noticing that when you're doing these things that you feel tired, drained, anxious, depressed, if you're feeling any of those things while, maybe you get on Facebook and all of a sudden you're feeling a little bit like down or you feel tired all of a sudden, pay attention to those things because those things, it could be something that you saw, something you heard that kind of triggered that and maybe sparks some, either worry in you or stress or whatever. So be really aware of the daily information that you're allowing into your mind. And if there are things that you're noticing, once you have that awareness and you notice that, okay, every time I get on Facebook, I feel anxious, I get anxiety, pay attention to that. And if you have that awareness, then like I got to cut my social media time down. It's not working for me. Or every time, I watch the morning news, I feel stressed and worried or whatever, or I feel tired. I just feel like I want to go take a nap, go back to bed, take a nap or whatever, then that's a red flag. And that's telling you that there's something in the news, there's something going on that's triggering you that can slow you down and work against you. So when it comes to securing your environment, be aware of those things. Be aware of, people that you're talking to, conversations you're having. If there's just certain things that just trigger like one of those negative responses, the anxiety, the depression, the fatigue, just like those energy zappers, really make sure to filter those things out. And a lot lately tends to be social media. So those are just some things to be aware of, and just to kind of, as you're walking through your day and you're taking in all that daily information that we take in, have that self-awareness to know how certain things are impacting you, if they're energizing you to move you forward or if they're kind of draining you and pulling you down a little bit. Be aware of that. Again, know your players, and also be very, very aware of what you allow to come into your heart and what you really take on. So securing your environment goes far beyond, although these things are important with with the foods you have in your kitchen, the area that you're going to work out, the designated area just for you to work out, having those kinds of things are super important. But then also when it comes to your motivation to feeling, up and ready to go for the day, really pay attention to who your players are, who you're allowing on your team, who's going to be in the game with you, who can maybe be on your team, but they might need to just hang out on the bench most of the time, and then who just isn't in, who's not in. Take that time to do that. I do have an activity for that. If you don't have the book, if you do have the book, it's in the book. But the main activity is just to have that communication, have that talk with your support system. So whoever is in your daily life, whoever has an impact on you, if it's a spouse, if it's kids, any kind of family member, friends, whatever, really having that conversation and just saying, like, this is the path I'm on. This goal is super, super important to me. Maybe I've done this before, but I've stopped and I've gone back, and this time I want to go all the way, and really expressing it. It's not going to change our relationship. There might be certain habits I need to change, but I still love you. I still want you to be a part of this, all those things. Because I'm telling you what, people change when they know you're going to create some kind of change for yourself. It kind of, their first, whether it's conscious or not conscious, their first thing is like, how's this going to impact me? Like, they're changing. How's my life going to look different now? So I think it's just the human in us. So being sensitive to that, aware of that, and communicate with your support system, communicate with those players on your team, let them know this is important to you. what your goal is, and that their support, their encouragement, their cheerleading, all that stuff would mean the world to you. So that's what I would encourage you to do this week and really focus on, and just be aware again of your the daily information you're taking in, and have kind of those that little wall around you of, to protect you from certain things that you don't need to let in, opinions, thoughts, whatever, that you don't need to let in your heart. So that's what I got for you today. Next week is going to be week 4. So next week we're going to talk more about, I think next week we do have another topic on mindset. And then the following week is when we kind of wrap up that month 1 and get ready and set for our month 2 to start. So already in week 3, and keep up the good work. You guys are awesome. Keep going and have those conversations. If you haven't done your why yet, I am begging you to please really know what that why is, and really hold tight to it, and make sure that it's deep enough to keep you moving on those days where you're not going to feel like it. Because I know change is work. Change is not easy. It takes focus. It takes a lot of your time and attention to create that change. But I will tell you, it does get easier, and it does become just more. The more you do it, the more you stick with it. It just becomes what you do. That just becomes your new habit. So that's what we're shooting for: is ditching the old habits, creating the new ones. And then for some of you, dropping some unwanted inches, getting rid of those inches and keeping them off for life. That's the goal. Transformed for life. All right. Have a wonderful week, you guys. Rock your week, and I will see you here next week.